Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another edition of SPTV News Live, where we cut. Jesus, I always fuck this up. There's always the initial nerves, then you get over that, then I plow away. Where we keep you up to date on the latest shenanigans in the criminal cult of Scientology. Okay, so this is an update. Well, first of all, how you doing, Lorna? Good to see you again. And we have Rose Petal in the house. I think you're a newbie. Very good to see you. And greetings, Faye. And it looks like Creeper Creepin is in the house and is either getting stoned and showing us the puff puff pass, or that's just a sigh of relief with all the bullshit that's been going on in the community. So let's get right into today's update. This has to do with the Danny Masterson civil trial. Now, this was just taken off stay about a month and a half ago, and we're already on Shenanigans number 7 on this particular case. And what we're doing partly on the SPTV News Live is covering the 6 ongoing criminal cases that are leveled at Scientology, the Elf, Danny Masterson, etc. And we're breaking them down in real time so that you have the opportunity to see just how good Scientology is at taking a seemingly definitely winnable case and slashing it bit by bit by bit. So that's what this is about. And let's get right into the details. And I'll give you the latest update on what the hell is going on. So, little refresher course. Let me just make sure that you guys can hear me too, because I am paranoid about the sound. You guys can hear me, right? Okay. I'm sure I'd be hearing about it if you can't. Yes, Kelly Copter did do a great live today. That took a lot of courage. And we'll be doing a live. If you guys want to talk about that same subject or not, it's up to you, man. If you're sick of the drama, we can just do the usual Q&A that we do at 8 o'clock p.m. tonight, Pacific Standard Time, or we can talk all about that shit, whatever you guys prefer. Anyway, so let's get into today's deal. So on August 22nd, just as a refresher here, 2019, plaintiffs Chrissy Carnell Bixler, Cedric Bixler Zavala, Jane Doe number 1, Marie Babette Realis, and Jane Doe number 2. These are all the people that were in the criminal trial of Danny Masterson, with the addition of the husband here, Cedric Bixler. So they filed a complaint against defendants Cult of Scientology International, known as CSI, Cult of Scientology Celebrity Center International, CCI, defendant Religious Technology Center, RTC, the serial rapist Danny Masterson, and defendant Elf on the Shelf, David Miscavige. And the key point here is that they are claiming that the cult agents stalked and intimidated them after they reported allegations against Masterson to the police. That's what's known as fair game, and that's what they're suing civilly over, meaning money. No one's going to jail, unfortunately. At least not yet. Maybe some revelations that come out in this case, if they can ever make it there, will help to expose Scientology even more. But check this out, guys. So this isn't set until about 2 years from now. So right now, the serial rapist and the elf-led cult are set to go to trial on this matter on frickin' September 22nd, 2025, 2 years from now. Now, this just came off stay, meaning it's allowed to go forward about a month and a half ago. And like I said, we're already on update or Shenanigans number 7. And they're already kind of slashing away at this suit. So what do you think they're going to do for the next 2 years? Oh, God. So in case you're wondering, apparently, court backlogs and an expected flood of discovery filings are among several reasons the trial won't start for nearly 2 freaking years. Just to show you real quick that we've covered this in 6 videos before, and all these will be linked in the description box so you can follow piece by piece the case, because we're just covering the latest update and it's impossible to cover everything that's already been covered. So about a month and a half ago, you see Scientology's desperate attempt to silence Jane Doe's and Danny Masterson's civil lawsuit. We can see here that Scientology lawyers bitch to judge again in Danny Masterson's civil lawsuit. And then we have Scientology targets Danny Masterson's victims in court yet again. We have Danny Masterson lawsuit heats up, Scientology shenanigans continue. And then we have, what else? We have legal update, Danny Masterson's accusers strike back at Scientology. And we're going to be updating from right there where Scientology now strikes back. And they had a little bit of a win. And then we have also appertaining to this, what story would be complete without Danny Masterson's missing arsenal raising eyebrows in court? So let's throw you guys in the chat and let's get into this shit. Okay. If you have any questions, guys, as usual, as you can see there, throw out the question marks. We can answer them as we go or at the end. And we'll go ahead and remove that because it can be really, really annoying to have that there. Okay. So attorneys for the cult and the Jane Does argue over fair game and Masterson lawsuit. And the result of that just recently is the judge did in fact remove some allegations from the lawsuit by the serial rapist victims. So let's start with what their complaint is, and then we'll see what the result is. Make sure everything's firing off here. Okay. You guys enjoy yourself in the chat. Sit back and relax. This won't take too long, but again, it'll give us some insight into how these freaks work and how they can kind of be so effective, even though they're clearly on the wrong side of the law. Judge Upinder Kalra indicated that he had read the pleadings about Scientology's motion to strike a large part of the Bixler lawsuit. Again, if you want to know the full details, all 6 videos leading up to this will be in the description box, but this is where we're at now. They were trying to strike a large portion of the Bixler lawsuit. As we talked about earlier, the Bixler lawsuit, you will remember, was filed in 2019 by the serial rapist victims, even before he was charged criminally. But the lawsuit has been on hold while Masterson went through 2 trials. And as we know, he was convicted of 2 counts of forcible rape on May 31st. And on September 7th of this year, he was sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole after 25.5 years. The Bixler lawsuit was initially forced into Scientology's ridiculous and absurd brand of, quote, religious arbitration until, thank God, an appeals court reversed that ruling, saying that the Jane Does should not be held to contracts they signed as Scientologists when the harm they alleged, the stalking, hacking, and even poisoning of their pets, i.e. fair game, occurred after they had left the cult. Stand by for a drink of water. Carrying on. So Scientology has asked the judge to interpret that ruling by simply striking the allegations from the lawsuit that refer to the time when the Jane Does were Scientologists, and also to remove references to Scientology's internal policies, in particular, allegations about fair game. And that's the retaliation policy that Scientologists claim no longer exists. That isn't true. It still exists today. This morning, this would have been the other day, the judge said that he did not issue a tentative ruling based on those pleadings and that he preferred to have a conversation about the issues. And like I said, we'll tell you what resulted because he did issue a statement. He said he acknowledged the, quote, blue line of the appeals court ruling, the boundary marked by the time when the Jane Does left Scientology. He said it made it easier. He said it made it easy for the court to see everything that Scientology wanted stricken. But the conversation then turned on the concept that even if Judge Kalra were to strike allegations from the complaint today, it wouldn't prevent the plaintiffs from bringing those issues up in a later trial. Scientology attorney Bill Foreman said he acknowledged that and said, of course, we're not trying to limit what might come in at trial. We'd never do that. But he says these were, quote, explosive allegations that he thinks should be stricken from the complaint. He griped that it was a, quote, sprawling lawsuit that began with L. Ron Hubbard publishing Dianetics in 1950 and continuing to garbage cans being rummaged through in 2020. But then Kalra pointed out something kind of amazing. One of the previous cases that had been referred to in this litigation is the famous Lawrence Wallersheim lawsuit, which resulted in a massive jury award in the mid-1980s. How many of you are familiar with that? And that might give us some insight as to what chance and also what these ladies might be going up against, especially with 2 years before they're going to, crack this thing to court, actually, what they might actually be up against. I'll play you a classic clip at the end of Lawrence Wallersheim giving some advice as to how long it took him to win his $9.2 million and actually defeat the cult and get paid for being fair gamed. So the judge pointed out that the cult attorneys actually defended the fair game policy in the Wallersheim case, but today Foreman and his colleagues, quote, are arguing that it's, of course, mere fiction. Foreman didn't seem fazed and said that the fair game doctrine was, quote, a matter of intense dispute that could, quote, never be resolved by this court. Stand by for 1 second. Okay, so Foreman added that the inclusion of cult policies was a, quote, hornet's nest, and so it was better to strike those allegations from the lawsuit. In other words, it's too much bullshit to get into. Judge, can you just go ahead and take that out just so we can feel better? As for the idea that the material could be stricken now, but later come in at trial, plaintiff's attorney, Brad Edwards, pointed out that the judge would be setting up a potential problem in discovery. So when they're taking depositions, Edwards said he could see the Scientology attorneys telling their witnesses, of course, not to answer questions about fair game and other things that had been stricken. So you can see why they're trying to get this stricken, right? How sneaky this is. Even though the judge had said those issues could come in later. And yes, no doubt Edwards is absolutely correct about that. Of course, Scientology's attorneys would do that. Now, if that happens, Edwards said, it would force them to come to the judge and waste his time asking him to force the witness to answer those questions. It's better to keep the material in the complaint, Edwards says, calling it, quote, harmless. The judge put it to Foreman. Was Edwards correct? Would the Scientology attorneys tell their witnesses not to answer questions about the stricken material? Of course they would. Foreman said, of course it wouldn't come from him. So if the Scientology attorneys ended up doing that, the judge asked, they should expect sanctions? The judge said he would take the matter under advisement and would issue a ruling later. We can hardly wait. And what was the result of this issue? Scientology did get a little bit of a win as the judge did issue his ruling, and he did strike some paragraphs from the Bixler lawsuit, as well as some prayers for relief. Since Scientology is a fanatic of clearing words, and I have no idea what judicial terms mean in general, as I'm not a lawyer. I told you I only play one on YouTube, guys. What the hell's a prayer for relief? The prayer for relief is the part of the complaint where a plaintiff states the damages or other remedies it is seeking from the court in a lawsuit. Federal rules of civil procedure requires that a plaintiff's pleadings contain a prayer for relief, and the prayer is often located at the end of the complaint. Carrying on with the article. Because according to Scientology, if we wouldn't have word cleared that and just went past prayers of relief, your mind would go blank. You wouldn't retain anything that we read previously, and nothing else that we're about to read would make sense. Make sense? So the cult was asking that he remove whole sections of the lawsuit that referred to when the Jane Doe victims were Scientologists, and also that referred to the cult's practices of fair game. He didn't do that, but he did remove some specific language that sought punitive and treble damages. Here are the paragraphs that he removed. Again, I don't know what the hell those things mean, and maybe the audience doesn't either. What are punitive damages? Those are damages exceeding simple compensation and awarded to punish the defendant. Maybe less obvious, what the fuck are treble damages? A recovery of 3 times the amount of actual financial losses suffered, which is provided by statute for certain kinds of cases. The statute authorizing treble damages directs the judge to multiply by 3 the amount of monetary damages awarded by the jury in those cases, and to give judgment to the plaintiff in that tripled amount. So in other words, by getting this removed, some of these things, they're lessening the amount that they might have to pay out. That's why they're going after this and trying to gut as much of the lawsuit as they possibly can before it even starts. So here's the paragraphs that were removed. We are almost done here, my friends. So I'm not going to read off. You guys get it. There's all these paragraphs here, and they all say the same thing. And then paragraphs, blah, 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 that seek exemplary or punitive damages. In other words, they're trying to axe these punitive damages. And here's the paragraphs that the judge did decide to remove. And then at the end, we'll talk about what the hell this actually means. So 273, these acts constituted malicious conduct which was carried on by said defendants with willful and conscious disregard for plaintiff's rights, with the intention of willfully concealing information that could have prevented sexual assaults against plaintiffs Chrissy Bixler, Marie Reales, Jane Doe number 1, J Doe number 2, or others yet as unknown, as well as harassing and silencing the plaintiffs. I have to take another drink of water. I'm stumbling on my words. Stand by. So the conducted issue was and continues to be despicable, and has and continues to subject plaintiffs to a cruel and unjust hardship, and justifies an award of exemplary and punitive damages. Accordingly, punitive damages should be awarded against defendants to punish them and deter them and other such persons from committing such wrongful and malicious acts in the future. Don't know why the hell that would be stricken. I'm not a lawyer, but that certainly makes sense to me, what they're saying. 274, this is also stricken. Wherefore, plaintiffs pray for judgment against defendants in the form of all general and special damages, and a sum to be proven at trial, and exemplary and punitive damages as allowed by law, and in a sum to be proven at trial. Also, the judge removed these prayers for relief. Did we word clear prayers for relief? Yes, we did. That's just this thing here, my friends. It's put at the bottom of the statement. So, again, for punitive damages, punitive and exemplary damages, a paragraph here involving that has been removed. And also for attorney's fees and or penalties pursuant to the civil code, that was also taken out. For treble damages pursuant to California Penal Code was also removed. And this basically, so what the hell does all this mean? It means, in fact, it is damaging because the possible settlement range drops if punitive damages are taken off the menu, and therefore Scientology risks less by going to trial, so the number they'd be willing to settle for drops as well. And, this is a civil trial, so it's about money. It doesn't mean they're money grubbing people that want money. They're suing in a civil case for the alleged stalking and harassment, the poisoning of pets, following ever since they came forward, or the LAPD specifically started investigating these allegations and taking them seriously in 2016 up to present time. So if they decided to settle, I think these gals want to get the information out in the court, and they wouldn't settle for anything. But irregardless, if they win, they'll get paid out. And if Scientology, what they're going to try to do is take this to the brink and make sure that this doesn't actually wind up in court. And they have 2 freaking years. And this is Shenanigans number 7, just in the last month and a half. So if they even make it to trial, and shit, look at what these gals did with Danny Masterson. So they'll probably make it, but if they can, but you can see what they're up against and how Scientology in the last 7 videos on this are slicing away, and they do get their little victories. And also, it was a miracle, kind of, that they even got this thing to go to court, because the fucking first judge was going to throw this shit in their religious arbitration, which is their world within a world fake law, where, like I said before, you're gaslit to get down on your knees and suck the cult's cock, and say how wrong you were, and then rejoin the cult or leave and shut the fuck up. And that's what they always try to get these things thrown into, their religious arbitration. And all the other cases we've been covering on the channel, they've tried the same thing. And it did work, but thankfully it got revoked so this thing can go to court. And, lucky ladies, they have to go up against all this shit for the next 2 fucking years, in addition to the alleged fair gaming. As we roll out of here, let me show you this. Let me show you Lawrence Wallersheim, who's been through this shit. I'm sure you guys know who he is that follow, Scientology for any length of time. This is a little hard to hear. It's scratchy or whatever. But I do have the subtitles turned on, and this is his advice and what he went through and what maybe these gals could expect on trying to win on fair game allegations. During Lawrence Wallersheim's pursuit for damages, Scientology officials vowed never to pay. The phrase "not one thin dime" for Wallersheim was chanted by Scientologists at court hearings. COS subjected him to financial ruin through its policy of fair game. Scientology leaders made the deliberate decision to ruin Wallersheim economically and possibly psychologically, and that's the California Appellate Court, 1986.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Wallersheim. I'm the individual who won the largest court victory in the history of Scientology Scientology paid me $9.2 million, every single thin dime of that, for their use of mind control on me when I went there thinking they were something else. I paid them a lot of money, and they hurt me. They abused me. They did all kinds of crazy things. They have been doing this with a lot of people all over the world, using mind control in a supposed religious setting, and violating people's human rights abuse, and when they're under mind control, getting them to give all their money to Scientology and taking hundreds of thousands of dollars away from people. And they were punished in my case. Wallersheim versus Scientology of California, famous California case. This case has opened the door for the rest of you who've been in Scientology to get a lawyer, and you have a very clear and easy path to go get your restitution, to get your lives made whole again, to get your money back, and to penalize Scientology and take the profit out of it so it can't hurt other people. Unless victims take the profit out of Scientology's wrongdoing, it will keep doing it because it's taking hundreds of thousands of dollars away from individuals by using mind control on it. If you know someone that's that's thinking about Scientology or in Scientology or has left Scientology, please tell them about this short little video. I'm also the co-founder of FACTNet, FACTNET.org. It's the oldest and largest, one of the oldest and largest organizations informing about cults and mind control on the internet. And they've been paying out over the years hundreds of millions of dollars in secret settlements. And there's a very clear legal pathway now. It's not like when I started my suit. They're not very strong anymore in the courts. They're laughed at in the courts. Basically, they lose like crazy in the courts. That's why they pay out of court settlements. But you've got to persist. You've got to stay with it. And you've got to go get a good lawyer. I wish you luck. I got my $9.2 million and got a life back and got some healing, and I'm going to try to live the rest of my life in a positive way and serve society and do good things. But I got my life back because I said, you can't just let Scientology keep doing this to people. You've got to take the profit out of it. And I invite you to join me in suing Scientology for yourself or your family members, or help a friend, and get your money back, get your refund back, and get your life back, and take the profit out of wrongdoing that they're doing, and stop the human rights abuse by proper legal, ethical punishment, and taking all that ill-gotten gain away from them. Thank you.
This guy's been through absolute hell and back trying to actually get that 9.2 million. I mean, it was definitely beneath the cult to ever pay him one thin dime, but there's some solid advice. And even though things have changed, they're still up to their fair game. And here we are with the Jane Does, just one of one civil lawsuit, that are stuck in the same bullshit that's been going on since the 80s with Wallersheim and just forever. So let's take a few questions before we roll out our comments. If you guys have anything, throw up the question marks, and then otherwise we'll just take up these three and we'll roll out of here. And if you're up later today or tonight, we'll see you in a few hours on the Q&A. Marco. Sorry, I can't see the names, man, but I can see the comments. Doug, that Zero Dark Tony guy was talking shit about you. Oh, no. FYI, I thought you had him on your show. I did. I interviewed him. He seems like a big league asshole. Can't argue with that. He is an asshole, but he's entitled to say what he wants. If he's doing something illegal, he would probably get booted off. But yeah, man, I would say he should do a different presentation, delete the asshole shit, you know. He's kind of good on the jokes. He can do an awesome impression of Karen De La Carriere. But I can't sit through 2 hours to get 5 minutes of information that might be good, because he has been exposed in the X community in many ways, but he gets a lot of shit wrong. It's like, it's just too much for me to listen to, and I can't handle the guy's attitude. But I don't care if he talks shit about me. I've been encouraging him to make more videos about me because I feel like I've been left out. And if you want to talk more about all that shit, we can talk about it in the Q&A or not. Like I said, guys, if you don't want to talk about this drama shit, We'll just skip it, but that's where we can get into that if you want. Lady, what's going down? Not to do with this, but do we know what is happening with the gun business? I have no idea. I have no idea. So, lady, again, they don't need fair game. They need a new game. We're all onto them now. Indeed. But until the elf is in handcuffs and they stop roping people in, the game does go on, no matter how much exposure there is. So it doesn't end until there's some finite, there's some actual end with the elf in handcuffs. That would be a good start. Have you guys seen that auditor that's putting out these cool videos where here in Los Angeles, we did a video on cult protests, which I'll link in the description box, when the IES thing was kicking off, as some pointers maybe. And he was featured in that. And since then, he's made a bunch of videos where he's literally saved people's lives by talking them out of going into their testing center, which is right there on Hollywood Boulevard, man, right in Los Angeles. And people go, oh, I'd never fall for that, or whatever. I'd never get into that. But you can just watch person after person get hooked in by the recruiters in their happy steak uniforms and shit. And he's screaming at him, talking to him, telling him to get away. And it often takes them a long time for them to either get away, or some of them you just see walk right into that building. And there they go. 2 hours later, they did the personality test. They took their IQ test. They found the ruin, blah, blah, blah. And so people are walking in this fucking thing every day. That guy's really cool too, man. I want to see if I can get him on here because, at first he was super aggressive when he started out, which was kind of cool too, because he got right in their face and showed he's not scared at all. But since then, he's really honed his craft. Do you guys have any idea who the hell I'm talking about? Okay, you guys got any other comments before we were all out here? Oh, no problem, Marco. Like I said, if you want to bring it up, cool. But yeah, I do pay attention to kind of what everybody's doing. I haven't watched Zero Dark Tony for a couple months, more than maybe like 2 or 3 minutes here if there's something I have to watch. But like I said, man, I just don't have the time for 2-hour streams to get the 5 minutes of maybe good information. He'll take off for 20 minutes while a jam goes on. I don't know. It's too much for me, man. And yeah, he's definitely a menace. But, nothing's black and white. I don't think you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We talked about last time where there's many things I wouldn't agree with Steve Hassan and all sorts of different people. In fact, it's hard to agree with. Have you ever met a person where you agree with them on every single thing? So you know what? The guy, I would do a totally different approach, but at least he's not this cookie cutter fuck that's come in here and tried to, just basically do what everybody else is doing and just follow the formula and kiss Rinder's ass and all the shit. Like he has been calling out people, which I and a few other people have been trying to do for a while. So I do applaud him for that, man. I would just say the presentation sucks and you should de-asshole yourself and you'd probably have a big following. Anyways, any more? Oh, no problem, my friend. Thanks for the encouragement, man. Jojo, thanks for all your energy and time and passion and sharing information. No problem. Thanks for being here, man. It's a mutual situation where I enjoy it too, and hanging out with you guys. Yeah, right, philosophy. He's never going to listen. But Zero Dark Tony, if there was any way where you can de-narcissist yourself and get rid of listening to loving the sound of your own voice, get the fucking streams like Honeline, man, where the information's factual, what you're going to say, cut out all the bullshit and get right into it. And make sure you're accurate and you have facts and drop the dickhead attitude. Just my suggestion. Okay. I see another question. That's a good question. I can't diagnose them. I don't know, but it would be interesting to maybe throw them through the narc detector at HG Tutor. There's a couple other people in the SPTV community and L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige themselves, where I would actually like to throw it through, HG Tutor, the narcissistic psychopath, just his little thing to see if, just to see what the results might be. But I honestly don't know. I would say if I just had to guess, he at least is narcissistic, but that's not always a bad thing either, because I don't think anybody lacks having narcissism. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to feel good about yourself and defend yourself to a certain degree. So you can't be like a total weak person or whatever. But I would say he probably has narcissistic traits, but that's just my opinion. Doug, have you thought of interviewing this guy that won I don't know if he's even alive or around. I never even thought about reaching out to Lawrence Wollersheim. That's who you're talking about, right? But I would love to talk to him if he was around. I'm sure he has quite a bit of information and a story. I mean, he would be fascinating. And we haven't seen him pop off in the SPTV community while everybody and their mother's coming out of the woodwork, which is a good thing, in many ways. But if anybody can track down Wallersheim and ask him if he wants to come on, I don't know how to find the fucking guy. And I don't really pursue people to interview. But if you do want to, if you have a story and you know what we cover on the channel, if you'd like to be interviewed or whatever, anyone's welcome. I mean, like I said, I bring Zero Dark Tony on. Anybody can tell their story. Just shoot me an email and just be ready to talk out, and feel comfortable and safe. And then you can come on if you'd like. I'm just too lazy to reach out to people, and also feels kind of weird doing so. Hi, Larry Wallersheim. I know you don't know me, but would you come on and tell me how you, got 9.2 million? That kind of reminds me of that car commercial where, do you remember? It's like, I don't remember the guy's name, but he's like, oh yeah, Larry Parker got me 5.2 million after I was in a car accident. You got to get yours. Remember that fucking commercial? Okay. I think that's about it, guys. I'm just rambling. No more questions. Thank you, Catherine. That does actually help. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Please, Doug puts his heart in his videos. Thanks, Katrina. That's very nice of you. One Trick Pony. Did any of you guys see Kelly Copter's video today? It was great, man. That took a lot of balls for her to do that. And she has a parody where she took on Zero Dark Tony in the way of using her amazing singing voice to play with Tony. And she thought he might respond back, but there's two people that Zero Dark Tony won't touch, and that's Marisa Sigmund, also known as Diane Eddix, and Kelly, and she has a little moniker called, rather than ZDT, Zero Dark Tony, she calls it ZDK, Zero Dark Kelly, her alter ego. It's great shit. If you haven't seen it, I'll link Kelly's YouTube channel in the description box, but I'm sure most of you guys are already subscribed. Okay, my friends, let's roll out of here with this. If you want to hang out and talk drama or just other shit or a little bit of both, join us later tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Days After Dark, where we get high. We cover all the shit that comes up during the week, hence why this might come up. And we just let our hair down and chill out. I don't have to do presentations, and we can interact. So until then, my friends, as always, stay safe, stay sane, and stay cult free.
Have the idea of a bridge across the chasm. Now that is an old mystic idea that there was a chasm. There was a chasm between this existence, where we are now, and a higher plateau of existence. And that many people trying to make it fell into the abyss.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university where they were put in boxes, and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry, and they all have pretty children, and the children go to school, and the children go to summer camp.